Okay, so I go further with God in relationship than I do with position. Now, you say, well, how can that be? Well, the thing it is that the covenant is actually a backstop. When you are pressed and you find yourself against the wall, that's called, Smith Wigglesworth called it wit's end corner. Well, when I'm in wit's end corner and I feel the wall behind me, I come out fighting because now I have leverage. I use the wall as leverage to come at my enemy. So if I have to be pushed into a corner, it's always positive because I can always, listen, everybody, I can always fall back on the covenant. However, when me and Jesus are talking, we weren't talking about covenant. He was talking to me like, you and I are going to rule and reign forever, shoulder to shoulder. That's what he said to me. He didn't say anything about covenant. Okay, so this is what I noticed about Jesus. Because when I was in school and when I heard everything, it was all correct. The only thing that was missing in my part was relationship with God. That is that God can look into my eyes and he sees himself in me. And that could get you kicked out of a church. Because 2 Peter chapter 1 is a mystery to most people. It is to theologians because they won't even comment on it. But Peter said that through the precious promises that we've been given, we can be partakers of the divine nature. Partakers of the divine nature. That will get you kicked out of most churches if you start talking about that. If you start talking about being an imitator of God, people will say, well, who do you think you are? I go, I'm imitating God. I'm going to be just like my Father. As dearly loved children, Ephesians 5 says, be ye imitators of God as dearly loved children. Dearly loved children. So I'm going to enter in as a child, which really isn't position because children don't know all that stuff. What they do know is if they want gummy bears, they know how to ask nicely. So there is a childlike faith that bypasses all the theology. Has it become too complicated? I'm just hitting a couple things. They might be sacred cows. They might die. There might be some deaths. But sometimes cows need to be on the table. Sometimes it's time for a ribeye. Down here, things are broken and messed up and slow. That is what we're dealing with down here. We're dealing with all kinds of discrepancies. We get sick. If you're not on it, the reason why I never participated in the last 3 years is because I was in Psalms 91 every day. And I read my contract. So I didn't participate in this. Because my insurance policy says that nothing shall by any means harm me. That I'm going to see 1,000 fall and 10,000 in my right hand, but it's not going to come near me. And I just believed that, not because Brother Hagin said it, but because Moses wrote it from the cleft of the rock. Psalms 90 and 91 were written by Moses. Moses wrote 91 as God was passing by him and he was trying to stay alive. Moses was in the cleft of the rock trying to stay alive, trying to stay upright while this happened. And the revelation he got, he wrote, it's Psalms 91. So he wrote Psalms 91 as God was passing by, and he realized that no evil could befall him. No demon could stand in his presence in the shadow of the Almighty. So he said, those who make their dwelling place the Most High. In other words, those who inhabit or in the shadow of the Most High, none of these things are going to happen to you. But how many people actually live there? Because the only qualification is that you live there. If you're using the drive-through window, you don't qualify. You're not going to see. You're not going to see it. You're not going to get the goodies in verses 9 through 16. It's only those who make God their dwelling place. You got to make this next step. Now you say, well, you know, I'm doing that. Well, then we should be able to see the fruit. I was looking at my own life. I judged myself because Paul said, judge yourself lest you be judged. I'm not going to be judged. I'm a spiritual person. No, I'm not subject to any man's judgment because I am submitted to the Spirit. A spiritual person is not subject to a worldly person's judgment because they don't have the Holy Spirit. Okay, so if you let the Holy Spirit and you work together in a relationship, then what happens is you clean it up. Yes. And then you're not judged with the world. Okay, if you do that, angels are going to be sent on special assignments to lead you and keep you in all your ways. That's not even mentioning the Holy Spirit that's inside of you. Holy Spirit inside of you is the person who's going to guide you, but the angels are the ones that are going to make sure you don't even trip. Habitation is actually talking about what Jesus said, and he said this in John. He said, listen, if you love me and you love my Father and you obey us, me and my Father will come and live with you. And the idea there, if you study it, is that we will bring our furniture and move in. So guess who answers the door when the bills come? Guess who answers the door when Satan decides he wants to put some sort of sickness on you or disease of the week? So you gotta get out of this cycle. The only way is to make the next step, which is habitation. Okay, in habitation, there was revelation, and Moses would not be the same because there is no way that he realized there is no way that disease could ever touch him in that glory. Do you get it? He said, show me your kabod. He didn't say, show. See, God said, my face. The word there is presence. But if you look it up, it's panaim, which is faces, plural. My faces shall go with you, Moses. Me and you are good. But these people, I'm done with them. So he said, my presence will go with you. But when you look it up, it's the same word as faces. It should be panai. It's panaim. Plural. My faces shall go with you. Moses said, oh no, show me your kabod. And God said, you want to die? You can't see my kabod coming from my face and live. You can't see the fullness of kabod. Why did Moses choose to use another word? Because he knew God was holding something back. It wasn't enough for his face to be gazing at Moses and going with him that way. He wanted relationship. He said, I want to know you. Tell me your name. Who do I say? Are you catching this? Yes. This is the next step. This is, if you're asking, I don't know if you're asking or not, but this is what I saw. I saw that the next step down here is that you can go further on relationship because Enoch did no position. But who else has disappeared? Besides Elijah, we only have two, right? They didn't go to Ramah. They don't have Bethel music. They don't even have an iPhone 1. But yet they were able to function in a greater way than us, but they're not greater. Because one day, John got the position. Jesus said, listen, I just want to tell you, you gotta think like Hebrews do. There's no one greater than Moses or Abraham. Right? Moses and Abraham, they're it. You can't even speak against them. I mean, if Jesus spoke against them, then they got to kill him. So they did. He said, one greater than Abraham is here. Okay, but he also said, look, John, come here. And John's like chewing on locusts, biting a locust head off, and, got honey dripping down the side of his face, and he's worn the same suit for the last 20 years, He said, there's no one, just so you know, no one is greater than John now. Everybody up till now, no one is greater than John. You got to imagine what happened that day. They are shocked. They have to tell themselves to breathe. But he doesn't stop there because you know Jesus. He says this. He says, but from now on, the least in the kingdom is greater than John. This has already been said. You can't change it. Even the nearly inspired version still has it in there. Okay, but listen to me. If this is true, which it is, because it's in red, Jesus said it, then what are we waiting for? We should be disappearing because God took us, because we pleased him so much. It's in the faith chapter. It's in chapter 11 of Hebrews. When you read verse 4 and verse 5, it says that without faith you cannot please God, because you got to believe that he exists, which is the demons do that. But you have to believe that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. That is not position. That is not covenant. That is relationship. God didn't send Jesus for you to live on the fence. God sent Jesus to hang on a cross so that you can walk in the throne room as a son and a daughter of God.